So, you can all put your hands up. No, if anybody's got any questions or comments or responses to the exhibition.
At the moment, with these Nigerian bronzes, which were 3,000 bronzes that were taken from Benin, because the British wanted to control, Nigeria, which is means a new delta, right? Now they've been taken, do you not think it's opened the door to Nigerian history, for one, and even though the Nigerians want it back, they want a receipt for it. But do you not think, by being in Europe, all these artifacts, whether it's West African artifacts, Congo artifacts, it has brought history out to Europe, so individual people can see it. Because I would say 90% of people in this country will never step foot in Africa. So if you take it all away and put it all back in Africa, most people will never see it. And at the moment, I just think with the museums as they are now, and knowing Nigeria is being built up, very expensive houses and things like that, sooner or later, when we put the receipt back in and say, can we have our pieces back, which probably half of it or 3/4 of it will probably end up eventually back in Nigeria. So I think at the moment, African art and loads of beautiful Nigerian bronzes are really quite nice to be in museums for people to have a look at Paris, London, New York, because I don't think the majority of people ever have the money to go to Africa to have a look.
From the Elgin Marbles, there are countries who's had their artwork plundered are now saying we want it back. And what Leslie's argument is, it all goes back. It's almost like the zoo. We didn't have zoos, we would never know what a zebra looks like. But I think there's two sides of it. The original work should go back, and the copies can talk. Because that is that thing about the British Museum mindset, is that you don't know how to look after it. And it is again that superiority of, we can look after it better than you can. We do need it out of the country, regardless of the country, India, China, wherever it's from. But copies, it's the taking, isn't it? That it's the issue, and the means by which it was taken is the issue. And to be fair, this exhibition isn't about that. Kevin's concentrating on a particular part of that. The exhibition is about the art that was produced as a result of the slavery. Yeah, from the profit of that, along with some taken goods. That making sense? Just thinking.
Yeah, it's just at the moment, the Benin of Oba is organising with people here to get Nigerian bronze at some stage, and some of them are going back, and some Nigerian stuff is going back to Nigeria. But the thing is, as Emma will mention, that Bernard Fagg and Frank Willett at one time built a museum in Lagos for the Nigerian government, and 4 years later it was ransacked and things were stolen out of it. That was a situation. But the thing is, I really think at the moment, if we sent all this lovely art, because I've just come back from Paris, and I've just seen a really nice exhibition in Paris, the new ethnographical exhibition, and it was packed full of people. And I think up to a certain extent, yes, I'm Nigerian, give us a receipt for all the bronzes, and when we're ready for it, we can take some of it back. And what we mustn't miss is that when we talk about Nigerian bronzes, and we talk 3,000 bronzes, Nigeria was full of African art, and full of bracelets and bronzes and artifacts and that. So the thing is, as a child, I was told that we have it all, you don't have anything. But that's misleading. There are lots of carvings, and I don't know how many people were in Nigeria when I was born in 1948. But the thing is, I would imagine there was 70 million. So 70 million bangles, 70 million rings, 70 million of badges, whatever it may be, going all the way. So I'm not too,
The position isn't it? More than a receipt, it's about money. And all the entrance fees and everything you raised on the back of that as well. You know, but you know, I think that's, I'm not trying to close the debate, but I think it's a parallel and it works alongside, but it's kind of separate from this particular Trade and Empire piece, you know. I mean, Kevin, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but, you know, as a visual artist and as a sculptor, he's not said he's a sculptor, you know, that connection. And you always, I mean, when I first met you, you were making heads, weren't you?
Yeah, busts.
To represent his, you know, his early work was heads and emotional responses, because, you know, the image of a black head was always, in fact, we've laughed, haven't we, over workshops. Kevin would do workshops with teachers. And inevitably, we go around going, oh my God, they've all got flat noses and big lips, they're all snarling. And it's amazing how people transfer through their fingers a stereotype. You know, so Kevin's always worked on that thing about the head and the image, isn't it, right?
Yeah, and actually following on from the point that you raised, Tony Phillips, through the etchings that he's presented, shows quite clearly how they were removed. But he also goes further on to show how they've been misread because they've been viewed out of context. Which is why, on a certain level, I say, yes, it's good for us to see them, but I think we also have to understand that you're open to misreading it because, or the public that is open to misreading it because you're viewing it within the gallery situation, in a box, totally out of context in terms of how it would have been used. And this is why those pieces were also a metaphor for the dislocation caused to diasporic Africans, because we are often misread because we're viewed out of context. So on one level, yes, it's good to see them, but I mean, technology is developed to an extent. Why do we really need them here? Could they not be sent back and viewed more in context?
We'll have the copies.
We'll have the copies.
I mean, I can understand. For quite a few years, I've bought and sold antiques, and the thing is, and if I decided to take all the French furniture out of Britain, and all the German furniture, and all the American furniture, and all that, I think we really end up being quite insular, and is, you know, part society will be drawn in. So up to a certain extent, as a Nigerian, I want a receipt for those Nigerian bronzes. I'm watching all the skyscrapers and all the houses are being built at £180,000 sterling up to £750,000 sterling, and I'm awaiting that when we are ready and the museum there, we're going to book the receipt and get the large majority of it back. But at the moment, our culture is right over Europe, and most people in here know about Nigeria and Ashantis and things like that. So at the moment, I think, because of the situation and developing it, I think it's not a bad thing, but we want a receipt. So that's the thing.
What you said there, the thing about our culture will be insular in this country, and all the French furniture went back and everything else. Really, that's what the exhibition's about as well, though. The exhibition is saying that this so-called culture that we call English, or as the Americans say, English. Ain't English. Oh, it ain't English. It's English. You know, it is the coming together of that whole thing. And really, that's the core of the exhibition. That people just see something and don't realise the link. And in our different ways, we've tried to show that link. Not necessarily, and I'm not in any way, these are academic people, which I'm not, but not as superior beings with all-informed knowledge, but as individual human beings, responses to it.